Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome again to the Van Buren Variety Show. I am Bob Van Buren, your host. Glad you're all here. And I also see some newcomers that have logged in too. So, welcome to the show. For those of you that are new, I'll tell you a little bit about the show. The title says all Van Buren Variety. Every week I have a different guest on to talk about an interesting topic. It could be the person's profession, it might be a hobby, it could be a how to segment, it might even have a musical segment. And I've had those quite a lot these last few weeks. So if you haven't already and you like the show tonight and you like the content, make sure you hit that subscribe button up there. I'd really appreciate that. In addition to that, if you like tonight's guest and you like tonight's topics, please, once you watch it, make sure you hit that like button as well. I'm sure our guests would appreciate that. The Van Buren Variety Show is seen live every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Central Time and 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you don't catch the live show, hey, we're always out here. You can go to YouTube, type in Van Buren Variety, and click on the live tab. If you click on the live tab, you can see the 120 some odd episodes I've done so far. Scan through it, or actually watch all of them. Find the topic you like, and if you like it, make sure you leave a comment too. And if you have a question for a guest, even the ones tonight, and you missed the live show, you can leave a comment in the comment section, and I'll make sure that that's forwarded over to them. Hope you've all had a great week so far. I haven't really. I'm going through some stress right now from different sources. So, anxiety kind of gets you when you don't take care of it. So, trying to just breathe and just kind of take a deep breath and get through the week so far. But prayers would be appreciated this time to get over this little hump in my life that's going on. So, yeah, don't like that. So, hope your week's been a lot better than mine. I have got a very interesting topic tonight, and I got my hats off to these guys that I have tonight. You've seen on my show before, and you've seen in my monologues. I have deep respect for our veterans and our first responders, and I think organizations that help them are to be commended. To help these veterans that may be having whatever issues they're having wrong, or what they need to reach out to somebody. So the name of the group is Team Defenders, and I'm going to bring on two members of that group, and they can tell you more about it. So let me bring them on now. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Stacy James and Brett Boyer of Team Defenders. Guys, welcome to the Van Buren Variety Show.
Hey, what's going on, Bob? Thank you for having us tonight.
Thank
So
you.
I'll bring it up to y'all. So tell us, what is Team Defenders? What is your organization about?
Team Defenders, what we are about is essentially we bring peer support and mental health first aid training to veterans and first responders and their family members. And we unfortunately was created out of loss. Brett and I, we had a former instructor, Colonel Bolin, that we had back in 2012. When we lost him, he was a mentor to all of us. We didn't really know how to honor him. We didn't know, it was kind of a void that was left. So we essentially created a bunch of us, Air Force cops. We all kind of brought ourselves together, and we went to an event called Carry the Load, and we realized that we weren't the only one that was sharing that loss, but we also realized the significance of peers and being able to have someone to talk to connect. And when we have those things, we realize that, when we help each other, we heal as well. So, and that's kind of where we started. And yeah, I mean, it's been a roller coaster. We've gone from, doing just as a sports team. We were registered as a sports team initially, going and supporting other nonprofits, and providing the peer support during other people's events. And then it kind of turned into what we are now. Last year, we lost our co-founder, Lance Keller. He was a security forces active duty master sergeant. And we lost him to cancer last year. And like I said, one of the things that he promised us was that we would grow the mission, that there was a lot more people out there that needed more help than what we were actually giving. And that's where Brett and our other team members come into play. And in the last year, we have grown um, faster than I think that we were anticipating,
Good.
and so but yeah.
Okay. How long has Team Defenders been on? Like, what year was it formed?
So like I said, we initially came up the whole Team Defenders. That's what we named our team in 2012. We officially became registered with the state of Texas and the IRS as a sports organization. It was a nonprofit sports organization in 2015, and then we switched over officially to actual 501c3 last year in 2022. And the mission has always been the same. Some of the things that we brought on that was a lot different is now we are directly plugged in with the VPN Veteran Peer Network here in the state of Texas. We're working with the Tarrant County Veterans Court and the Tarrant County's First Responder Court. Both of those organizations are there to help military members, veterans, and first responders who have made some mistakes and give them a second chance. And we're part of that mentor program there, and we're slowly adding ourselves, and that's kind of where that piece. We also try to work with homeless veterans in the area. We didn't realize, especially in Parker County, where Brett lives, and it's we've kind of made Parker County our home, even though our office and home office, if you will, is in Fort Worth. We kind of made Parker County our home just because we realize the outlying areas don't have the same resources as a lot of our bigger cities and metropolitan areas do. So we've kind of ventured out that way mostly with Hood County, Parker County, Wise County, and a few other, Van Zant, also in those other places. And the goal is just to start trying to bridge the gaps between the resources that we are aware of and that we work with directly to start trying to bring the needed resources to those that don't know that exist. One of the biggest problems that we've run into and that we've seen over the course of us doing this for so many years is there are a lot of organizations out there that want to help. There's a lot of great organizations out there, and the need for them is astronomical. However, the frustration of a military member or a first responder to try and find the right people to go to becomes very distracting. It becomes very difficult, and a lot of them lose kind of hope, and their issues tend to get worse and worse and worse until they make mistakes, and then they end up into court. They end up divorced. They end up alcoholics, substance abusers, suicide. Those are all different things that we're starting to see. And then one of the biggest ones is homelessness. So what we've done is try to come in and try to provide that one-stop shop. When we hear about a veteran, we try to make it to where we're in front of that veteran in less than 24 hours. And we start walking the path. Once we figure out what it is they need, we start walking the path with them. If it's if they don't have medical benefits, we have resources to help them get medical benefits. If it's working to get VA disability ratings, if they haven't ever applied for one, we can help get them started with that. So we just do a little bit of everything, and it's all built around the peer and mentorship, and that way they always know that they have somebody that they can call and count on. And we hold people accountable, and sometimes we have to have those hard conversations with people, and we're not afraid to do that as well. So
I'm glad to hear that. And the word is camaraderie, I think, because you can relate to one another. You're from like one veteran to another, and I think that really helps. Instead of when you call someone on the phone, talk to somebody, hundreds of miles away, they may or may not be a veteran. I think it really helps veterans to know that there's someone that can empathize with them.
Yeah, and that's true. So, and some of the things a big piece of what we've done is we've partnered with MHMR of North
Oh,
Texas,
good.
and we've received grant that also certifies our members of our team as instructors for mental health first aid. And we teach 5 different mental health first aid courses, ranging from for teachers we do and law enforcement we do the youth mental health first aid,
Oh, good.
and that kind of teaches them what to expect and some things that our youth go through. It also helps family members, our folks that are at home, understand what their teens are going through, what they're experiencing, and kind of look for signs and symptoms that they might be under some sort of crisis, if you will, and to try and head that off before it gets too concerned. I noticed that one of our partners, Andrew Cox, is logged in, and he's watching. He's from Ohio, so he's one of our team members that's up in Ohio.
Well, hello,
And
hello, Andrew.
so but and then of course we do specific career mental health first aid courses. We do one for corrections, for those that are in corrections, and they're designed specifically for each one of our or I guess our public service agencies, and we have one specific for law enforcement and first responders, and then also firefighters, EMTs.
Right.
And then for anybody that just wants the training, we also do an adult, which is more of a big, broad instructor course. So
That's great.
and
That kind of brings up my next question for you two. Let's just say, like me, I'm very patriotic. I have, the deepest respect for our U.S. veterans, our first responders. Is it only veterans that can join this organization? Can anybody join? And then what are some of the requirements if someone really is serious and like to be a part of Team Defenders?
Brett, you want to take that one, or you want me to take it?
So who we help is pretty standardized. We help veterans, first responders, and their families. But we are willing to take on people, especially subject matter experts that can help us out, and the mental health stuff like that. We don't mind bringing on people to help us out as volunteers, or even the occasional board member. You don't necessarily have to be a veteran to be part of Team Defenders, but our bread and butter is helping specifically veterans and first responders, our families. So if that answers your question, to come on and help, whether it be going to an event or it be setting up at an event and helping us take in donations and talking to people, you don't have to be a veteran. So Stacy can piggyback on that.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things too is honestly it's how committed are you to wanting to serve and help others, right? And the second one is where it is in your heart, right? I'll be honest with you, I would take one person that has no military or first responder background that's dedicated to help somebody. We can help train them to understand the needs and understand the processes, and they may not have that ability to connect on an empathy level, but you can still do a lot on a sympathy level, and honestly a lot of them just want someone that cares. Now obviously some people, it takes a little bit for them to open up, and that's where, especially for our military and our first responders, is a lot of them fail to seek help because they're afraid of the stigma and losing their jobs. When you're not mentally fit, especially for our folks that are arming and carrying firearms, that becomes a very questionable area, and we have to make sure that they're sound in mind. But Brett and I are both perfect examples where we both have our share of mental breakdowns and issues, and to where, but yet we both continued to serve, but we both reached out and received the help, and I think it's just the fear, and there are certain circumstances where everybody that needs help receives the help, there's a chance that they may not be able to continue to serve, right? It really depends on the significant levels and what it is that they're experiencing. But 9 times out of 10, though, if it can be if it can be maintained and it's under control, and and a lot of that will work itself out. It's just a matter of getting them to come forward and getting that help, and that's where volunteering is just, honestly, we'll take anybody that really has the heart and the time to want to dedicate to do this. Brett, he works for Weatherford ISD. I work for Burleson ISD. I'm a criminal justice teacher. He works in the transportation for the district. So we have full-time jobs, right? And there's a lot of times where we're not fair to our own families, and but most of the time our families understand what it is that we're trying to do, and we try our best to juggle home life and work life and volunteer life, and then obviously getting families involved. When you get your families involved, it's amazing. Their kids start to learn how to give. They learn to be a little bit more humble, and that's the thing too, is we like having kids get involved. And so if anybody's ever interested in wanting to join or wanting to reach out, we're always, like Brett said, if it's just to come out and man our tent during First Mondays, right?
Yeah.
And just talk to people, come out and join us and sit down and listen to what it is that we do. And and we get people that come visit all the time, and they pull up a chair and they visit with us, get to know us, we get to know them, and the more they hang around, the more that we say, hey, would you like to be an instructor, right? And that kind of takes us to a big piece of what we do is we do certify instructors in adult mental health first aid. That's where that grant comes in from MHMR. They pay for $1,200 of a $2,200 instructor course, and then we pay the other $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
So
that is awesome.
But it does come with some requirements. It does come with some expectations, and part of that is if we're going to spend the money, then we expect you to put in a little time. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about your organization, and you've talked about some of the things that you do there. So let me bring your website up for my audience here. Ladies and gentlemen, oh, wrong one. Okay, I can't seem to get that one. There we go. Okay, it is www.teamdefenders.org. For those of you that are listening on audio only, again, that is www.team, defenders, all one word, .org. So I'll let y'all take that away. So if somebody clicks on your website there, what information will they see?
So the first thing you're going to take it to is they're going to take them to their home screen, and from our home screen, they're going to have some choices there. The choices are either at the top, or there's some different choices down at the bottom. They all go pretty much to the areas that they're designated. One of the big things is the newsletter. That's something that's very new to us. We are supporting a new website. It actually went up in the last 3 or 4 weeks. It's better suited, we can do a lot more things with it than what we could do before. One of the things is going in and signing up for our newsletter. We're probably going to start our newsletter sometime in the middle of September, first part of October, just to make sure that we get it out, what it has information. That's one of the biggest pieces. Obviously, they're going to be able to see what our mission is, and then sections down there, they can go in and actually see what it is that we do. They can go in and see what events we have, and when the events are taking place. They can go in and see photos of the different events that we've been in and some of the things that we've done. And then they can also, there's links to our own YouTube. Obviously, we're not as tech savvy as you are, Bob, but, it's one of those things where but we do try to do our own content. It's few and far between. There's a link to our Facebook page. That's where we do a lot of our communication with those that follow us. And we try to put out a lot of information on there. But much of what's on our Facebook does mirror what's on the website. And then obviously, if they need help or they know someone needs help, they can always reach out to us through telephone number, through emails. But it's just kind of and then obviously the big important piece, and this is the piece that it is the most, I say it's the most important because we can't do what we do without assistance, right?
Mm-hmm.
But our mission is the most important, but donations, right?
Absolutely.
We're always looking for sponsors to help us come on, to support our events, to support us. We're always looking for people to donate because $1,000, for each instructor is a significant chunk of change. We have very small operating expense outside of fuel. Website services and things like that. 100% of what we do goes into what we do. Like I said, we all have jobs. We don't need this to support. We do this because we wish we had it whenever we were younger and didn't know any better and hadn't have made a lot of the mistakes that we made. We want to be able to help people not make those same mistakes or try to catch it before they do. And if they do, be there to catch them and walk that path until we can get them back where they need to be. So yeah, I mean, like I said, that's pretty much what our website looks like. And, we're always looking for, recommendations. We are not the SMEs when it comes to social media. If we got people that are good at that kind of thing and they want to volunteer their time that way, right? We'll accept that, those services as well. And sometimes that's where people, they're not good with talking to people. They're not good with interacting, but they want to give back in their own way. And sometimes that's part where they can do it. If they're good at, doing T-shirt designs and and things like that, we're always willing to bring people on that can help with that as well. Right. And so, but yeah, I mean, that's, we do, like I said, we do have some events coming up. If you're local to the area, right? Yeah, Andy's poking at me. He goes, Stacy is pretty close to an expert on social media.
I thought that was an interesting comment.
That's actually an inside joke, and most, see, even Brett's laughing. So I was pretty notorious for Facebook when I was active duty. So, but anyway,
maybe y'all could create your own YouTube channel.
Honestly, if we did, it would have to be somebody else to do it. Brett and I stay pretty busy.
I'm sure you do. I bet you do.
If someone wanted to come on and start that, for us and run with that, I'd be tickled pink. But it's just one of those things where it's we know we're going to grow, and it's just a matter of just taking it when we can get it. But like I said, we are accepting sponsorships. We currently have some sponsors, and if we're allowed to do that, I'd like to share those with the audience too.
Absolutely.
So we did pick up Bravo Concealment. We do fundraisers quite often. Part of that is we hold raffles during those. Sure. And Bravo Concealment has been supporting us over the years with donating us personal holster rigs and shooting setups for those that are interested in those kind of things. We just picked up Comfort Experts out of Weatherford. They've done some work with us, and they're there to, and they're offering, anytime we have a veteran or a first responder that may need some services, they're willing to help out there. And so they're amazing folks. Itching to Stitch. I can't say Holly. I know she's not watching this because she's making hats and patches, and she stayed busy all the time. But she's been supporting us now for almost 10 years, and she's done she does all of our shirts for us, and she's also out of Weatherford, Texas, and if you ever get a chance to meet her locally, I would recommend that. The other one is All Patch Stuff. They do all of our patches for us. And again, they they help us out because they know that we like to give back. So Brett and I in our organization, we're not real keen on just accepting, and we should, but we're not just real keen with accepting, funds or money. If someone gives us a donation, we like to give something in return, and that's in form of our merchandise, our patches, our hats, things like that. So, because we want someone to feel like that they, obviously some people when they give, they really do it from their heart, but we like to give them something in return to kind of really honestly say thank you, and because we couldn't do what we do without the help of a lot of people at sport. And then one of the other folks is he is a veteran. He reached out to us, and they really wanted to get in it, and that is Old Souls Tattoo, also in Weatherford, Texas. And like I said, Weatherford has really kind of adopted us, and that's where our first major event is going to be, which is on the Saturday 28th of October at Memorial Park in Weatherford. And that's going to be our 5K. We're actually doing it's called a Monster Walk 5K, and it's going to be Halloween themed, and it is obviously open to the public with registration. It is a fundraiser for our organization, and but it's kind of for us to give back, to say thank you to Weatherford, and give Weatherford an opportunity to come out and meet us. A lot of people have already met us, like we met you, Bob. We met you at the first Monday.
Yep.
And you were talking to Brett. I think I was talking to some folks, and you had an opportunity to talk to Brett. And honestly, that's the way it works. In fact, a lot of the help that we've given and a lot of veterans that we've come in contact with has been through First Monday. For us, we've gone out there and people come by and say, "Hey, I know this veteran," or we get a phone call, "Hey, this veteran, we talked to this veteran that was under the bridge," and that's really where it starts. And when we get those phone calls, Brett is on it. And
that's awesome.
And but yeah, that's kind of really us in a nutshell. So
great. Well, I got kind of a question for y'all. Is it's something we always hear on the network news, and I'd like to get comments from both of y'all. I know PTSD is a very, very something that just haunts a lot of our veterans. So any advice? Can they call you, or what do you do when a veteran has got PTSD?
So obviously, if it's too terribly, if it's immediate crisis, we always advise them to either call 988, which is the national hotline for suicide, or call 911.
Okay.
Once they've done that, and if we know about it, obviously we're going to go into action. Right? We're actually going to be able to. If they're local, we're going to try and put ourselves in front of that veteran or that first responder as quickly as possible. If they're somewhere in the United States, not in the state of Texas, or they're out, or we can drive to them, we have such a large following on our Facebook page that we've had a pretty good track record of being able to have someone that knows someone that knows someone that knows the person, and we can get someone to that individual pretty quick. And I think our average time, and Brett can help me with that, but our average timing is about 15 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. We have someone in front of, and sometimes that's a first responder, right? Sometimes we find out what the address is. We call the local law enforcement for that location, and it's a police officer that shows up. Point is we have managed to get someone to that individual in that crisis. Now, if someone calls us and wants that one-on-one, just kind of talk, our phone is always on, right?
Good.
Someone wants to message and call us, we'll pick up, and we encourage people to do that. And it's just one of those things where it's few and far between. Most people will, call during the day. They don't like calling at night. But if someone really needs it, and they just feel like that they're not sure where to go, call us, and we'll sit and we'll listen. And the good part is, and this is where I think a lot of some services fail, uh, is we listen non-judgmentally. Okay, we're not going to judge you because if you're thinking about harming yourself, I've been there myself, and I'm not going to judge you for that. But I am going to encourage you to not, and I'm going to encourage you to seek out help and to give us an opportunity to do that, right? And because it is proven that for every 15 minutes a person doesn't uh, take their life, right, is the chances of them not doing it. So if we go, 30, 15 minutes, the chances of that individual, because a lot of times the suicide thoughts and the suicide process, um, even if they've thought it out and they've already got a plan in place, and they know how they're going to do it, a lot of times just that pause, if we can get them to pause, right, then a lot of that will then drift, and then we're able to reach in and pull them out of it and start walking the process of healing with them. And it's a hard process. I'm not going to lie. Whenever I tried taking my own life in 2007, I didn't have anybody like me. I did, but they lived in California, right? Um, and I knew I could call him, but then what, right? And it was kind of one of those things where um, it took me years. It took me years to get to where I didn't just fall off, you know, the bandwagon. I just didn't. It was just one of those things where it took someone to show me that I could heal. It took someone to show me to where I could love myself, right? And a lot of people just lose that, and they lose purpose, and that's kind of where we fall in. Is we try to get people to get involved. We try to give them purpose. We try to help them find their purpose, and that's kind of where our whole process program is all about. We teach people how to recognize the signs and symptoms, and we walk the path with those that are struggling to get them to hopefully be the next peer or mentor, right? So yeah, I mean but it is hard, but we tell you, no matter where you're at, call somebody, and if you don't think you have anybody, that's when you're sadly mistaken. There's always someone available, and you just got to be willing to pick up the phone and call. And even if that's 911, and that law enforcement and an ambulance is going to come, most of those law enforcement agencies, they're veterans, and of course they're first responders, and a lot of them are there, and they truly have hearts, and they want to help, and a lot of them will literally, and again, some of them will actually pick up the phone and call us, right? A lot of the first responders. So, and that's where, again, we'll step in when we get the phone calls, and and one of the good things that we do also is, and a lot of organizations won't, but we'll even help veterans who have had dishonorable discharges. They were still veterans. The veterans that made mistakes. Now, obviously, in some cases, we're very limited on some of the resources because a lot of them require DD-214s, and they have to have an honorable discharge. But you don't have to. You can still walk the path with someone and be there to respect the individual and not condone what it is that they've done. Sure. They're still a human, and everyone deserves a second chance, and that dishonorable discharge should not clearly 100% define who they are, because people change.
Absolutely.
And of course, so we we even try. We'll always answer we don't ask you, hey, what was your, you're honorably discharged. If you
Mm-hmm.
need help, we're going to talk to you, and that's a big piece. So
That's great. Do you have veterans from pretty much all wars? I mean, Korea, Vietnam, Iraqi Freedom, Persian Gulf One, Persian Gulf Two.
so a lot of for on our team, uh, we're made up. We're making up a variety of folks, but the majority of us are Afghanistan, Iraq veterans,
Okay.
um, and uh, it's the new reign, back in the day, Vietnam vets started, a lot of your VFWs and Legion halls, and we're the new folks coming in, and we eat both, legacies and both generations, all the generations all kind of did their own thing to help one another, and we work with the VFWs and the legions, and trying to get, we want to help them grow with the new generation, because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
them are struggling, because the new generation, they're not the ones that like to go into the dark holes, and you know dark, and
Mm-hmm.
smoking out atmospheres, and so helping them grow, because they have amazing resources and amazing benefits to veterans, and to help them grow. And a lot of them are willing to do that. And we just talked to somebody just this last first Monday from the Weatherford VFW, and they're looking for ways to grow, and they, it's just like everything, we have to be willing to grow, and we want to bring on folks,
Mm-hmm.
right? We would love to have anybody that's served. I can't pretend to know what a Vietnam veteran went through. I do know that they weren't treated very well, and anytime I see any veteran that served prior, I always thank them for their service. And I know that's cliche-ish, you know but they didn't receive the same welcome that Brett and
Mm-hmm.
I did, or
Yeah.
any of some of the others that did. And I feel like that, we kind of own that, and but we, like I said, we we want anybody that's willing to put in the time and have the heart. It's really what it's about, and to have a passion to want to help people. And it's not easy. It's not easy
No.
to go into a home where a veteran is, barely has electricity, has no running water. He sits in front of five fans, because his grid in his home won't run an AC unit. Um, he probably hasn't had a shower in months, if not years. And then you try to help them, and they want the help, but then they get frustrated, and they don't like the system, and they don't like how it works, and
Mm-hmm.
and they push people away, and that's where some people aren't comfortable with having the hard conversation to say, well, I've done all I can. Right, at some point you've got to make some effort. You still have a
Right.
part to play in this, and a lot of people don't like having that conversation with a veteran who is struggling. uh, but we have to have that conversation,
Absolutely.
because we can only do so much. And when we've done everything to the point where all you need to do is say yes, and you're not willing to say yes, we can't make you do anything, right? And
Sure.
other than encourage, and we still check on them, right? And that story I just told you is a situation that we're currently in, with a veteran, and it's extremely frustrating. He's living in a home where the city's about to condemn it, and we've got a home for him to go to, and he
Great.
just needs to say yes,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think it because he's so worried about the change. A lot of them fear the change. They're used to living a certain way for so long that they fear that change. They know they want it. They know they need it, but they fear that change. And but at some point he's got to make that decision. And that's where we need to let people know that are interested in coming and helping us, that there's a chance that you may encounter a situation like that, and you may not have all the questions, you may not have all the answers, and that's where Brett and I, we go to our partners that we go to. If we don't know the answer, we probably find somebody that does, and get them to that person. But we don't just pass at the buck. We reach out to the people that can help, and we try to put them in contact and facilitate that. We don't just say, hey, here's a number, call. We definitely don't like doing that.
Sure.
We try to avoid doing that at all costs. So.
Okay. Well, I'd like to hear from both of you. I'd like to hear from Stacy, and there's a story I'm sure y'all have for both of you and Brett, individually. I know without giving names. What would you say in your experience has been your most, should I say, success story, where you were able to help a veteran? I mean, I'm sure there was many, but one that comes to mind without giving that person's identity. Just kind of how were you able to help that person?
Go ahead, Brett. You got one?
Well, I got a few. I won't give their names, but I think our work, whenever we find a veteran in crisis, we've been able to have somebody in front of that veteran. So we use the algae method, and our first A is to assess the situation, and then we're able to get somebody in front of them. And you were asking about that earlier. I think our biggest success story is not the homeless veterans that we were able to help. I think it's the ones that their wives have reached out to us and said, hey, my husband went missing and he's got his pistol, and I'm terrified he's going to end it. And we were able to find those individuals in other states within minutes, and have them have somebody that they can relate to, walk them off that cliff. And then we know, because we can confirm with whoever gets in front of them that, hey, they're okay. And I think those are probably, for me, I would take one of those over 100 of the other ones. Helping a veteran get his disability, all that stuff is great. But I think saving the lives that we're able to do, I think that's probably my biggest takeaway from why we do this.
That's great to hear.
For me, was just a couple of years ago. This young man, he lived in Granbury, and I received a phone call at about 10:30 at night, just about ready to go to bed. And it was from the sheriff's department from Hood County, and not Hood County. The one in Granbury. Is that Hood County?
That's Hood County. Yes.
Okay, yeah. So Hood County Sheriff's Department, and it was also the constable, and they were like, "Hey, is this Stacy from Team Defenders?" And I was like, "Yeah, hey, we got your number. We've got a veteran here, an Army veteran who just lost his Air Force veteran wife to suicide."
Oh.
And I was like, it's like, okay. I go, where's the, obviously, it's kind of like going into, what do we, it's kind of like a checklist. And where's the veteran now? Well, we have him here. He's still at the house. So we immediately reached out to a young man, Doug Pruitt in Granbury, who has another nonprofit. And he had some resources in Granbury, and we were able to get a hotel room for the night. So I told them that we'd gotten a hotel that, if he's willing to go to the hotel, take him there so we could get him out of the home, and that I would meet them there. And I ended up staying with the veteran overnight in the hotel. And obviously he went through every stage you could possibly think of, fear, anger, sadness, and it just until he cried himself to sleep, but it was just one of those where I just let him talk, just let him scream. And the next morning, one of our old partners, we went to my home, got our kit. It is a cleanup kit. It's a service that we don't advertise. It's something that we will do if law enforcement asks us to do it. But we went to his home and we cleaned up the scene after the law enforcement released it.
Sure.
Because believe it or not, through a lot of research, it's proven time and time again that the sooner you get someone back into the home, the better off they are.
Mm-hmm.
So, needless to say, that was a challenge. I phone calls, checking on him. Anytime he would call, I made sure that we picked up the phone, and I'd go in after work and check on him. I'd send folks to check on him, and he just was, obviously for obvious reasons, he just lost his wife, and
Mm-hmm.
he was a roller coaster of a mess, and
I'm
and
sure.
but you know what? I'm so proud of him because there was days that he'd call and be like, "Man, I just don't want to live," and you could tell he'd been drinking. And but the thing is he is still with us today, 2 years later, and he calls. Right? He calls when he's having a rough time, and we talk, and and it seems he knows that. I think that is his way of continuing on, is just pick up the phone
Mm-hmm.
and call someone, and that's kind of really where it goes back to what I said earlier. And he ended up moving back home. Again, research shows that if you move to where you have support, relatives and people
Sure.
that you can count on, and so he moved back north. And to this day, we still talk, and he's got an amazing job, and he's got a new girlfriend, and but again, there's days that he just needs someone to talk to, and I'm a firm believer that if someone hadn't have been with him that night, that he'd have been another statistic, and we
Mm-hmm.
would have lost him. And he's so brave. He's amazing, and I'm super proud of him. And one day, um, we're going to get him to join, and he's going to be telling his stories. He's going to be doing exactly what me and Brett do, and he's going to be a hell of a mentor one day. And but he'll do that in his own time. But that's my biggest
That's great.
success, if you will, and it's still a growing piece. We don't just you have to gauge success differently in
Sure.
this line of work. And it's success is maybe getting a guy or gal registered to get medical services. Maybe that's a win for that day.
Sure.
But
Mm-hmm.
we know that we still have a long road ahead. So
I'd love to have him if he'd be willing sometime. If I'd love to hear his story on this show, maybe he can stay in touch and when if he feels like it for sure.
yep, and that's and again, I would love for him to, right? Because his story is a story that so many that live through a suicide, um, the aftermath that's left behind is just astronomical. And but I want to say here, the radio vault said you can see. They basically said you can see a broken arm, but it's hard to see a broken spirit, right?
That's right.
Um, and that's the biggest thing is you can literally stare at someone and they can tell you you're okay, they're okay, but and a lot of times we'll just walk on, and but you have to learn to look at everything, look at their eyes, look at how they carry themselves, and you can see the broken spirit. No matter how hard they hide it,
Mm-hmm.
you can see it, and and uh, and that's where people, and that's where we want to help people learn. And that's the thing. If we got followers here that want to learn how to do this, we'll our classes are free, right? Every one of our
They're
classes that
free.
we teach
Okay.
are free.
Okay.
We do virtual classes. We'll do blended classes. We'll do
That's great.
in-person classes. Now, obviously, the in-person classes right now are a little bit restricted to within driving distance for us.
Sure.
But virtual classes, we can touch you no matter where you're at. The blended classes, which are you do a portion of the class online before you come to the virtual class. It saves a little time. It cuts the class down to about 4 to 5 hours. They are 8 hour classes, and with an hour lunch, so it's about a 7 hour
Perfect.
class. But no matter where we are, if you want to learn how to recognize the signs and symptoms and be able to be a better peer, to be able to have that or I should say early intervention,
Sure.
you need to have one of our classes, right? And because they're free, there should never be a reason why you shouldn't want to sign up. We can do as minimum of 5 people. So you have a company that wants to, they have 5 people they want to get trained. We do a minimum because we want to maximize our time and our effort.
Absolutely.
But we can do as many as 30. The course material is free. That stuff gets sent out to your home. Some of it's virtual lessons and handbooks, but we encourage you. And like I said, if you're a first responder, we can tailor it specifically for your what it is that you do. If you're in education, we can do the youth mental health. We can also do that for family members. And some of the things we all do also, we do CPR. I do CPR certifications.
Oh, that's good.
I do charge for those, unfortunately,
because you have to.
But it's super, super cheap. But the funds that we bring in for the CPR get donated to Team Defenders. And then, of course, we do all kinds of different stop the bleed. We do all kinds of different things just to kind of give people purpose and meanings. We can give stuff to put on a resume, and they go out and apply for a job to try and get a little bit better job. We can help them do that kind of stuff as well. So,
wow, so much information. There's so much people can do for your organization. Let me bring that website back up for everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, I would highly recommend you check out their website. Again, that's www.teamdefenders.org, www.teamdefenders.org. I looked at the website earlier before our show, and there's a wealth of information out there. I especially like you've got an events video out there. You've got several photos out there, and even talking about how to people can get involved. So. Ladies and gentlemen, I would say if you want to help our veterans, you have deep respect for our veterans and our first responders, this is the organization you need to check out. So again, that's www.teamdefenders.org. I highly recommend you check that out. And just and for our veterans, whether they're watching live or whether they'll be watching this days, weeks, months, even years from now, this is a place to go. You've got a place now to get help if you're going to talk to somebody, and no matter when they're where in the U.S. that they are, correct?
What's that, sir?
They can call any. They can
no matter where they are, even if they're overseas, they can call anytime. And that's what it's about. Someone will always answer. If we don't answer immediately, we'll call you right back. It's just one of those things where we just need you to pick up the phone. Now we are hopefully going to be branching off into a couple other states here in the next year. We're hoping, knock on wood, that would be Florida. And if I can ever get Andrew to buy in, Andrew will be opening a Team Defender branch, if you will, in Ohio.
Ohio. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
So he's up in Ohio. So I tried to get him to move down to Texas, but he says it's too hot down here.
I figure that's probably why he didn't want to come down here.
but no, if you're up in Ohio, hit up Andrew. He actually works for Veterans Court up in.
Okay.
Andrew, you want to tell them where you're at, if you don't mind sharing? He's kind of the court liaison for veterans up there in Ohio,
great.
If he's still on. So,
I went to Ohio on a business trip a couple months ago now. I went to Dayton, Ohio. So I'm not sure where he's at, but that's more like southwest Ohio.
Yep. I'm bought in. So, but one thing else, as soon as it starts cooling off and it's not 108 degrees outside, and we're going to start off we do rucking events on Saturdays, on the weekends. And rucking, for those that are military, it's rucking with weight. And we wear vests or weighted vests or backpacks. And that is open to everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a veteran or not. We want people to come up and and come out and join us. And we'll post that up on our website and on our Facebook. We do encourage people to follow us. Go on and like and follow us on our Facebook, and that's where you're going to get a lot of the immediate information and updates. And then obviously we'll go in and update a lot of the other information on our website. And so, but yeah, that's pretty much it. And I noticed Andrew did post down here, Summit County, Ohio.
Got that.
In the northeastern portion. So
if
you're ever up there, hit him up, and I'm telling you, he'll make you laugh like no other. So.
Wow, this has been great information, and I'm hoping a lot of the veterans and the law enforcement or first responders see, they've got a place to go if they need to talk or need any kind of help. So I appreciate what you two guys are doing in your organization, Team Defenders. That we need more guys like you. So hopefully you'll get some more volunteers.
We'd love to have
watching this.
and I don't know if we have any lady followers, but we could really use some females on our team.
Absolutely.
The big piece of, female veterans and first responders kind of get, left behind. And we would really love to have some young ladies come on board and, become peers and mentors for our program. So. Okay,
well, Stacy, Brett, I appreciate y'all being on the show tonight.
Yeah,
I learned a lot, and I appreciate you. I know y'all are busy, so I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to tell us more about your organization.
Yeah, I appreciate you having us, man. This has been amazing. So,
okay, y'all have a great night. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be the end of the show for tonight's Van Buren Variety episode. But remember, I'm here every Tuesday evening at 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern, where I will have another guest to talk about another topic. You ain't going to know what it is unless you hit that subscribe button. So make sure you hit the subscribe, and you'll get alerts of upcoming guests. So also, if you like tonight's guest, if you like tonight's topic, and the two guys that were here tonight, Stacy and Brett, watch the video and make sure you like it. Pick the like button. And if you have a question, even if it's after the live show, leave a comment and I'll make sure that's forwarded over to them. So that's all for me tonight. I appreciate you all turning in. And this is Bob Van Buren for the Van Buren Variety Show. Good night, everybody.